You moved to a new country. You downloaded Duolingo. You did it for 3 weeks straight, earned your little green streak, learned how to say the owl is eating an apple, and then you walked outside and understood absolutely nothing. Sound familiar? Because that is the experience of virtually every expat who has ever tried to learn a language the comfortable way, and today we are blowing that whole approach up. I have been living as an expat for years, and I want to tell you something nobody in the language learning community says loudly enough. Fluency is not the goal. Survival is the goal first. And survival requires a completely different strategy than what most apps are selling you. So here is what we are covering today. The highest yield language hacks that actually work when you have 30 minutes a day, not 6 hours. Why your brain is literally wired to make you avoid speaking, and how to rewire it fast. And the single mindset shift that transformed my relationship with embarrassment and unlocked real conversations with real locals. Stay with me because the last part is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. Let's start with the hard truth about language apps. Duolingo, Babbel, all of them have the same fundamental design flaw. They optimize for engagement, not acquisition. They want you coming back every day, feeling good, earning rewards. But real language acquisition is uncomfortable. It requires your brain to struggle, to reach, to fail, and to reconstruct. Apps remove that discomfort, and in doing so, they remove the growth. You can have a 400-day streak and still freeze completely when a taxi driver asks you a simple question. So what actually works when you are an expat with a full life, a job, social obligations, and maybe kids? You need to think in what linguists call high-frequency vocabulary. Research consistently shows that the top 1,000 most commonly used words in any language cover somewhere around 80 to 90% of everyday conversation. You do not need to know every word. You need to know the right words. Focus your limited time there. Not grammar rules, not conjugation tables. Words. Get a frequency dictionary for your target language and spend your first month drilling nothing but those core words using spaced repetition software like Anki. 15 minutes every morning. That alone will change everything. The second hack is what I call contextual anchoring. Instead of studying language in the abstract, tie everything you learn to a physical place or routine in your actual life. Learn the words for items in your kitchen while you are cooking. Learn transport vocabulary while you are sitting on the subway. Learn grocery words while you are literally standing in the supermarket. Your brain encodes language alongside context, and when you return to that context, the words surface more naturally. This is not a theory. This is how memory actually works. Third hack, and this one sounds almost too simple. Talk to yourself constantly. Narrate your day in your target language. You make coffee. You say the words for that in your head or out loud. You walk down the street. You describe what you see. You are not practicing for perfection. You are building automaticity, which is that crucial stage where language stops being a translation exercise and starts feeling like thought. This is what serious language learners do that casual learners never discover. Now, here is where the real conversation begins. Because all of that vocabulary work, all of that contextual anchoring, all of that self-narration is still happening in the safety of your own bubble. At some point, you have to actually talk to people. And this is where most expats stall out for months, sometimes years. I know expats who have lived in a country for 5 years and still apologize for their terrible language skills without ever having really tried. They exist in expat bubbles, English-speaking restaurants, international communities, apps on their phone. And honestly, you cannot blame them, because the fear of speaking badly to a native speaker is one of the most psychologically intense experiences an adult can have. Here is why. As children, we are not embarrassed by making language mistakes. Children mispronounce everything, mix up grammar, invent words, and nobody judges them harshly. But as adults, we have spent decades building an identity around being competent, being articulate, being understood. When you speak a foreign language badly, you temporarily lose all of that. You sound like a child. You feel like a child. And your ego absolutely hates it. So your brain sends a very clear signal. Avoid this situation. And you listen. The problem is that speaking is the only path to speaking. There is no other way through except directly through it. So here is the mindset shift that changed everything for me. Stop thinking about language as performance and start thinking about it as a gift. When you attempt to speak someone's language, even badly, even with a catastrophic accent and mixed up tenses, you are communicating something profound. You are saying, your language is worth my effort. Your culture matters enough for me to try. That is not a small thing. Most locals respond to that attempt with warmth and patience that will genuinely surprise you. I have been corrected kindly, helped enthusiastically, and invited into conversations I never expected simply because I tried. The attempt itself is the connection. There is a practical framework I use called the 3-sentence rule. When you approach any interaction with a local, you only need 3 sentences prepared: a greeting, your request or question, and a thank you. That is the entire transaction for most daily survival situations. 3 sentences. You rehearse those 3 sentences before you walk into the bakery, the pharmacy, the government office. You do not need to be able to discuss philosophy. You need to order bread. And when you can order bread consistently without switching to English, your confidence compounds. Small wins stack fast. Another technique that works brilliantly is what I call deliberate failure practice. Find low-stakes situations specifically for the purpose of trying and failing. A market stall where vendors are used to tourists. A casual coffee shop where the server is young and patient. Go in knowing you will make mistakes. Go in without any pressure to succeed perfectly. The goal of that interaction is not the coffee. The goal is the conversation. When you remove the pressure of needing to be understood perfectly, something relaxes in your brain and you actually communicate better. Paradoxically, accepting failure makes you fail less. Build a language emergency kit. 5 to 10 phrases that buy you time or signal goodwill in any awkward situation. Things like, I am still learning. Please speak slowly. Can you repeat that? How do you say this? Sorry, my language is not very good yet. These phrases are social lubricant. They tell people what to expect and how to help you. Most people immediately shift into a more supportive mode when they understand where you are in the process. You are not hiding your limitations. You are communicating them. And that is actually a sophisticated move. Find one local person who is willing to be your conversation partner. Not a tutor, not a language exchange app. A real person in your actual community who you see regularly. A neighbor, a shopkeeper, a parent at your kid's school. Ask them to speak to you only in the local language, even when it is frustrating, even when switching to English would be faster. That real relationship, built slowly through imperfect communication, is where language genuinely lives. Here is the bottom line. Busy expats do not need more vocabulary lists or prettier apps. You need courage more than you need conjugations. You need reps more than you need rules. Every day you are surrounded by thousands of opportunities to practice with real humans who are, mostly, rooting for you. The language is already around you. Step into it, badly, awkwardly, with your weird accent and your confused tenses, and keep stepping in until one day a local responds to you so naturally, so effortlessly that you realize the conversation just happened. And that moment is worth every embarrassing fumble it took to get there.